Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, and I'll follow back as well. This is my third, this is my third or fourth video that I've been uploading since I've started my channel. And I just really wanted to focus a little bit on the tools that I use for my cross stitch. So I don't use a large variety of tools, but I do use quite a small amount. And I think when I first started off as a beginner in cross stitch, I actually felt that I wanted to try as many accessories as possible, just to see which one I kind of found myself better working with. And that really helped on one side, but on the other side it was also very overwhelming, because there is a large amount of tools out there to start, doing your cross stitch, and it can get a little bit too much sometimes. So I think this video would be really good for someone who's starting off cross stitch and is not really sure what accessories to use. So I don't want to overload people with huge amounts of things that I use, but I'll just keep it real in the sense that I only use 3 working tools at the moment. So I'll start off with the first one that I use, which is my favorite one as well, is the QSnap. So the people that are not too familiar with QSnaps, they are really good to use on your project. The good thing about them is, well, first of all, you have snaps that you can remove from your QSnap. So these ones can be removed as well. I've never removed them. I remember building it up when I first received this. You can find this in different sizes. There is I think there is a rectangular one, and then the rectangular one has different sizes, like I think there's an extra large one, there's a large one, a medium one, and there is a square, which is the small one. I only have the small one because at the time that I bought this, I was doing a lot of birthday cards, cross stitch, so I didn't really need a lot of QSnaps that were bigger. But yeah, I would recommend getting a QSnap maybe for bigger projects if you find yourself that you need one. And yeah, so I mean, how it works is obviously you put your fabric on, and then you just click the snaps onto each side. And actually, I might show you how I do it with my fabric. I'll just use one as an example. So, I mean, let's say, okay, this is, my QSnap. I then put my fabric on top, like that. And then I just use my QSnaps to snap them on to the sides. So you just do that. And you can tighten them. You can tighten the fabric by just moving the QSnaps. Bottom one. Yep. Like that. And then, I'm doing just a really rough one, so yeah. Oh, I can't snap this one. Yeah, well, it's not letting me snap it on just because I have a lot of cross stitch over here, so it's quite hard. So yeah, and this is what happens. Yeah, you just have, this side where you can you can just simply, like, you know, use the QSnap like that, and it kind of helps you focus on what you're doing, especially if you are if you find it really confusing doing a cross stitch chart, and you're worried that you're going to get lost and that you don't remember where the right part is and everything. So I think this can be quite helpful. Now I'll just show you another tool that I use actually. Before going on to the other tool, I did want to like go through the pros and cons of the QSnap, which is so the pros for the QSnap are that you, as I said, they come in different sizes and you can choose the one that is more the one you're looking for. So and it helps you focus on small projects, which I guess is a pro. The cons, sorry, I just got a little bit distracted because my cat just she likes to just chase bees. So yeah, sorry about that. So my QSnap, as I said, one of the cons that I found was really even painful to some extent. When I was putting it on the fabric and using it, I would find that my hand or my wrist as well would get really painful, and I would need to change like position, or which is really hard to do when you have a QSnap which is a square, because there's not many other positions you can put it in. So I would have to have regular breaks on my wrist. So yeah, that was one thing that I found was quite painful, but it kind of depends, you know, it might not be like that for other people. So and as I said, depending on the size that you get, I wouldn't recommend this size on a large project, just because if you're doing full coverage, so large projects are, this can be, I mean, I found it quite hard to, you know, focus on one small section of my large project without making any mistakes. And it can be, I mean, I don't know, I just find that because you can't put all of your project inside this small QSnap, it can be a little bit confusing. So I would recommend probably the larger QSnap for larger projects. And yeah, another con that I found is that well, basically, like the snaps that you see here, they tend to loosen over time. So they can be quite tight initially when you first buy them, and then over time you might notice they get pretty loose. So what you saw before, like where my fabric was not, one side of my fabric I couldn't snap it on, was exactly, I think, a good example. It does get really loose over time, which, I mean, it's not ideal. I know that there are I recently heard from one of my friends that there is a way to make these snaps tighter, and it's she gave me the idea of putting them in the dishwasher, which was, I mean, I haven't tried it, but I mean, who knows if it works. And you know, I'm too scared that they might break or anything, but yeah. So that is my first tool that I use. I bought this QSnap in, where did I buy this? It was Lakeside Needlecraft, and they have a whole variety of QSnaps that you can choose from. So there's not just a square one, but there's also like rectangular ones, and to be honest, I find them really affordable there. I mean, you can also buy them on Amazon, but Amazon tends to be more expensive, I've noticed, and the quality might not be as good. So yeah, I would probably go for another like either cross stitch like business. And I mean, I've noticed that I mentioned Lakeside Needlecraft in many of my videos, but yeah, they are the main source that I use for my cross stitch. So I've never had any issues with them, so I would totally recommend them. And yes, so that's the first one. I can actually leave a link to Lakeside Needlecraft if people are okay under my video in the description box. But yeah, they, you know, you can also type them in Google and they'll just come up. Yeah, and what else? So yeah, then there's these other accessories, which are the hoops, those famous hoops. And I used to actually use hoops when I first started. It was my first tool that I actually used. And they are a little bit worn, as you can see. I've been using them for quite some time. Not as much recently. Recently I've I mean, I don't use any tools other than the QSnap, or sometimes I just do the freehand stitching, which is basically not using any tools. But I think the hoop can be quite good if, for example, you're doing a really small project and again you need to focus on a particular section of your cross stitch. And so yeah, they come with, as you can see, there are two hoops, and then there's this side here that you can tighten. So you can tighten and it gets, you know, tighter like that, or you can just make it wider. So you know, it depends on how tight you want your fabric to be. And I can actually, I mean, show you how I do it as well. I mean, hoops are, I think, a little bit more tricky if you've never done them before, to push into your fabric. So what you do is you take this one, it has to be on top, and then you take this other one and you put this under the hoop on the same level as the hoop on top. And what you do then is you just push. Ooh. Actually, I need to widen this up a little bit or else it doesn't really work. And yeah, you just push this through like this. You might have to, ooh, it's not, I guess, a good demonstration, but yeah, I'll try this again because it has to fit in. Yeah. Okay. So weird, because on one side it does work, and on the other side, oh, I'm nearly there. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I've done. Yeah, sorry, it just took some time here. So that's how it works. Yeah. It can take a little bit of time initially if it's the first time you've done it, and that's okay. So as I said, yeah, you push the top one has to be the one with the screw on top, and the other circle, the bottom one, is the one without the screw, and it goes on the back of your piece. And it has to be on the same, like, both circles need to be on the same part of your fabric to be able to push them together. And yeah, it can be quite good, I mean, to use, as I said. The only thing, I mean, I would say the pros are very similar to the QSnap in terms of the way that it helps you focus on the cross stitch, and because you can find them in different sizes. So to show you, I have a big size here, which is probably too big. I've never used these ones before. They're too big for my liking. Yeah. Or I think there's a medium one, or kind of medium one here. And then there is a small one, maybe like medium to small one. And yeah, you can get a set of these. So you don't have to buy them individually. You can buy a set of them. You can find them on Amazon. I bought these from Amazon, I think, yeah. And they come into a set. So the set is usually all of these that I've just showed you and this one together. I don't remember how much it is, but I can put a link below if you want. And yeah, I think strangely I didn't have the same issues with the QSnap that I had with the hoop. So when I was using the hoop, I wasn't experiencing any pain with my wrist at all, which is weird. And I guess, yeah, you hold it quite differently to how you hold the QSnap, because, you know, the way you hold it is basically you just put your hand on one side and the other thing is on the back side of your fabric. And then when you go to cross stitch, essentially, you just cross stitch in there and then from the back, and then oops, you keep on doing in that way. But yeah, I mean, you can tighten it, you can loosen it depending on how tight you want it. So yeah, this is just a demonstration really. It's not perfect by any means. But yeah, I wouldn't consider myself an expert in cross stitch at all. I would say I'm an advanced beginner, but I am still learning along the way, which I think is always important when you know, learn a new hobby, to be open-minded and to be willing to learn new things, even if, you know, even if you feel like you might have gotten the hang of it already. There's so much out there, I mean, that there is still to learn. Yeah, I learned by also watching videos on YouTube. There's quite a few good channels out there. And yeah, and then, oh yeah, one con of the hoop and the QSnap, but I would say more, well, I don't know, probably more the hoop, but I would say, yeah, both of them anyway. If you tend to leave them on to your fabric once you've finished cross stitching for the day or whatnot, it tends to mark the project. So once once you, let's say, finish your project and you take off the hoop, you might have the fabric a bit scrunched up, or, you know, a bit marked, and it can be, you know, it's not nice to see, but like it can be a little bit, you know, distracting. So I mean, what I would say is every time you start your cross stitch for the day, you know, just make sure that you take off the hoop or you take off the QSnap once you've finished, so that your fabric returns to how it was before and there are no marks on the fabric. As much as it's, you know, it's easy to just be like, oh well, I'll just leave it on, I don't want to put it back on the next time that I cross stitch and spend time doing that, or but yeah, it's just for the fabric really that does get quite ruined or, you know, frayed. And so yeah, that is the hoop. And then, oh yeah, I can actually use this now to show you. I also use, well, I recently bought this, I don't know if you can see this, but yeah. So this is a magnifying glass. And the good thing about this magnifying glass is you have a string, which comes from here. It's quite long, and you can decide how long you want it, how short you want it. And it's you know, you can keep this, you can put this around your neck, and it can, you know, help you to see the holes more clearly. So in this case, because this fabric is a 14 count Aida, the holes, as you can probably see, are quite big, so you can see them. But if, for example, you're using 18 count, which is a lot smaller, like a lot smaller, then this magnifying glass can be quite handy just to, you know, see the holes more clearly. And it saves you from having to, like, you know, struggle with your eyes and everything. And I also use like a light as well, which I'm probably going to show you another time because I don't have it here now. A light which you can, you know, change the different settings for the light. That can be quite useful if you like to cross stitch at night, like I do. I'm a bit of a night owl. And yeah, I think that's it. There's nothing. Oh, yeah, actually, this is the last tool that I use, but apart from scissors, obviously, I use any like pair of scissors is fine. You can find the one cross stitch scissors, so the ones specifically for embroidery, which are quite good. But yeah, I'm not too fussed about scissors, to be honest. I mean, I don't mind embroidery scissors in the sense they look really attractive, which I like the look, but I prefer just using any kind of like scissors. And then, yeah, so I was saying the needle minder. Oh, I don't have my needle minder here. I'll show you that in another video as well, promised. Yeah. This is my needle threader. So this is used to basically just, it helps you to thread your needle in the thread easier. And I have quite a nice anecdote about this, which seems like a really small, you know, tool that you would probably never think that it's so useful, but it is really. It saves your life in cross stitch, I would say. I mean, it saved mine for sure. So I'll show you briefly how I use it. I'll just use any random thread so you can have a look. Yeah, so let's use this yellowy thread. We can. Yeah. Excuse me, it's just. Okay, so I'll use this thread to show you, and I have also, where's my needle? Oh, I might actually use this needle to show you. Okay. Yeah, sorry for the wait. I'm just okay. Yeah, so I'm just going to show you quickly how we do it. So let's say, I mean, again, you can use any kind of needle, any size of needle. There's no difference really. Obviously, depending on the project that you're doing, the needle size is important. But in the case of like needle threading, I'm just going to show you with this needle. So first thing first, you can see that the needle threader is, this side here is the most important part. So it's really important that when you use this side, you know, it can be a bit frail, so you have to be really careful when you thread your needle. But yeah, what you do is you thread the needle, so you put this in this really small hole. Yeah. And I promise that is going to get like a lot easier once you start doing it many times. So you might struggle at first, but that's okay. And then you get your thread. I'm using 2 strands of thread, but you can also use 1 strand depending on, you know, your cross stitch. And then you thread this through, to see if I can show you properly. I'm going to thread this through the needle like that. So I'm going to thread it through this needle threader, and then I get my needle. So I've got my needle here. I get my needle and I push this through the thread. See? So it's gone through the thread. And then I pull this thread off the needle threader. And that's done. It's quite quick, but it saves a lot of time. And my anecdote I was saying is quite funny because when I first started as a beginner, I didn't even know the existence of a needle threader. So I was literally trying to catch the hole with my thread, and it was taking ages. It was really challenging. So every time I had to change colour or I had to change my thread, it would be so time consuming. And when I learned that there was a way around it, which was the needle threader, I was so happy. I mean, when I started using it, I was like, a new world opened up, you know. And it just felt so good to have something that you could just like, could help you thread your needle in a quick way, efficient way. And these ones, I mean, they do break, as I said, they're quite, you know, frail. But, you know, they do come in packs of 10 or sometimes 20 on Amazon. And I think you can find them pretty much anywhere. Yeah, on Amazon, they're quite cheap. But they do come in different colors, like, you know, there might be like a green or a blue one. Yeah, they come in a little pack of with other ones, and they're quite good. I mean, you can find different needle threaders that are made, you know, they might be like, they might look differently from this one, but it really depends on the quality ones, the ones that you, if you want like a cheap one, then you'll probably find this better than getting a more expensive one. I guess with the more expensive one, it does probably last longer than this one. It really does depend how much you use this. So if you use this regularly, I mean, my last one lasted over, I would say nearly a year, and then it broke. So I recently started using this, which is a new one, and you know, because I'm cross stitching every day now, it does get quite worn a little bit, but that's okay. So yeah, that's how I do my needle threader. And yeah, the only thing that I wanted to say in conclusion to everything that I said in this video, just 1 second. So it's really important that you find what suits you the most. So it's easy to, you know, to look at other people's work and, you know, other videos and think, oh, maybe I'm better off using a hoop, or, you know, or this or that. And again, try and use as many tools that you want initially to see which one you find yourself better with, and then pick one, choose the one that feels the most comfier and go with that. And again, what suits you might not suit someone else. Yeah, So we're all different, and we all have different ways of cross stitching, or you know, of using tools, and that's fine. There's no right way. As long as you're happy with it, and you feel, you know, you feel like it helps your work in the moment, then, you know, there's no right way or wrong way, really. So just experiment. That's what I always say. It's an experiment, and that's fine. It doesn't have to be perfect, or, you know, especially the first time that you use like either a hoop or a QSnap. You know, you will, the more you practice, the better it comes out. And that's the same with cross stitch as well. The more you cross stitch, the better it comes out. So yeah, that's it for me. And if you have any questions, please post them below. I'll try and answer as many as I can. And yeah, until the next video then. Bye everyone. Bye.